First of all, namaskar, all of you. It's wonderful to see all of you this evening. It's a great occasion. Book, book writing or writing over a period of time, an entire book is a phenomenal achievement, and especially when you are not writing one, which means you've done it as a building goes up brick by brick by brick through the years, observing events, analyzing them, commenting on them, and then you put it together. It's nothing short of, what in our Puranic tales we've heard of Sagar Manthan, the churning. India has gone through this churning over the last several decades, and looking back, you can see how we've churned and what we've achieved from it. And a lot of it is reflected here, written in a wonderful style, great sense of humor, and very incisive mind. So it is really an honor, Joyda. I'm grateful for this opportunity, and I hope I am able to do justice to it. And I think the very beginning is the best place to begin. So my first question, Joyda, is over several millennia, we've built a thriving civilization that was known for its knowledge traditions, its manufacturing skills and exports, its prosperity and trade, and a lot more. Then we were invaded, plundered, raped, traded as slaves, subjugated and humiliated, converted, and later also colonized, impoverished, starved, humiliated again, and tricked again and again. So at the end of these several millennia long journey and these experiences, the question that begs an answer is, who are we? What is our identity? And what is this Indic identity that we so stylishly call? And this happens to be the very first chapter of your book, Joyda.
The Indic ideology that permeated my childhood, permeated my college years, whether in India or overseas, it's something which is ingrained in you. You never let go of it. It's not an Indic identity, is not something that you take on and off. So I'm indebted to my parents, I'm indebted to my family, indebted to my friends, and indebted to my teachers. And surprisingly, teachers both in India as well as the UK, a few of them, were remarkable admirers of our civilization. So I tried to keep in touch, also tried to earn a little bit of my bread and butter, the Indic identity which I've referred to. What is the identity of a civilization that goes back 5,000 years? When I was at Cambridge, I had a very decent tutor called, he was a chemist, world-renowned chemist, became very fond of me, born in Darjeeling. And every time I used to go to him, he would offer me sherry. Now, I am a teetotaler. My dear mother would have been horrified to learn that I was imbibing sherry in Cambridge, but I genuinely didn't. So I told him, I said, Doc, you can take my quota. So he laughed. Now, he used to tell me that, listen, you, and this is an Englishman, and there are few of them who are enormously cultivated. And he says, Darjeeling identity, Darjeeling birth, given that, he was genuinely fond of India, genuinely fond of yours truly. Not because I saved him the glass of sherry every time, but he told me that, listen, India, we left you in a very bad way. We left you shattered. but you have the next generation. This was in 64, 65, 66. And a revival, revived or a resurgent India was very far from. I asked myself this question, where can I learn more about it? Now, in Presidency College, Calcutta, we had a lovely library, and university library was also good, but nowhere near what the Cambridge University Library was. So, in the midst of learning economics, I tried to learn about this Indic culture. I tell you, I was proud. Every time I would come back from the library, I would look at the Europeans and the others walking on the streets, and I would feel superior to them. So, a dear friend of mine who was an Indophile Englishman said, Joy, तुम्हारा mood after you come, not in Hindi of course, he said, तुम्हारा mood, वो library के बाद तुम्हारा mood improves. Most of us, we feel very tired after going to. I said, no, my mood improves because I learn more about myself, my country, my civilization, what we have contributed. The word, there is a very nice word which is originally, don't accuse me of throwing it around, it's originally a French word, but in English it's quite common. It's called patrimony. What comes from, now it's not, yes, not, it's not a sexist word, not from the father, but patrimony is the common heritage. Where did we lose it? I am very clear. Secularism be forgotten. I won't use stronger language.
Preempting a lot of questions along.
So I will now stop. I will now, where is the Indic identity that?
So to get a little more precise about it, very often we define it in very general terms, in terms of how we live, how we see the world, how we see ourselves, what our value system is. We also define it in terms of territory, in terms of civilization, culture, language. There are several markers of this identity that make us unique. And you've referred to a couple of books here, Black Skin, White Masks, and also The Wretched of the Earth by Frantz Fanon, and how there were allusions to different aspects of this identity. But what defines us is the essential non-negotiable part of it. There could be very overlapping part of an identity that could overlap with other identities also. Values that could, mimic other value systems also. Or shared. But something that gives us this unique distinction in the world. If you utter that word and you say, yeah, that's so Indian. And it can't be mimicked or cloned or aped elsewhere. Now, it becomes non-negotiable also because if you lose it, then probably it's irreplaceable. You will become commodified, the brand that you are. And why this debate is more important today, I'll contextualize it. We have some torchbearers of patriotism and nationalism who pin it on the territory, the land.
The physical territory.
The physical territory. Often there is a debate whether it is the people living on the territory or the territory itself, whether it is the distinct identity, the value system of those people or any people living on that territory. There is this confusion or debate or an argument going on that anyone living on this land belongs to that identity and represents that identity. Where do you find yourself within that?
Territorial identity can be a little debatable. When you identify with the people, the inhabitants of that territory, you're not identifying merely with the geography. You're identifying with the human capital. Now, the human capital is equally important, as I know it's important for you, I know it's important for all of us in this room. it does not surpass the geographical, but it's a mixture. Now, one can argue on that, but ultimately you will not get a copper-clad definition. For me, the language is important. Now, if you say Sanskrit, okay, now my Sanskrit is rather poor compared to what our family people had, compared to what you have, compared to others. My Sanskrit is poor. But the sense of it, Bangla and Sanskrit are not very different. If you know Bangla well, and if you know the Devanagari script well, पढ़ने में तो बंगाली हो तो पढ़ने में समस्या होती है, but once you can read it, then the battle, you have won half the battle. Therefore, what I would urge you to, and my friends here around us, and a very intimate circle, is let us not compartmentalize identity. It's a number of variables. Indic culture is identifiable. It is not identifiable because we are in 2023. It was identifiable even in the worst days of the Mughal Raj. Worst days of when if you read Tagore's poem on the martyrdom of Banda Bahadur, which I regret to say, 90% of my Punjabi friends and my in-laws had not heard of. If you look at that, you don't have any doubts about it. The Indic identity was born here. Now, whether you follow the Greek philosopher Professor Nicholas Kazanas, who says the Saraswati was here, it was no inward immigration, no inward migration. We went out to the rest of the world. I believe in that. We took Indic civilization to Europe.
Joyda, what has happened is lately we have had a lot of influx into the country. We have various kinds of demographies and identities coming over for different reasons. And there is insistence, vehement insistence, that all those who live here belong to that common identity. And the argument is, sorry, those who own up this identity belong to this identity. Those who don't. Those who do not live here and own up this identity, no matter where they live, have this identity. Because in this day and age of travel and communication, there has been a great deal of dispersal of people for different reasons, for education, as you did, for profession, for just change of place. But they carry their identity with them wherever they go. And likewise, those who come here carry their identity with them. So perhaps territorial identification, like the Aadhaar card, doesn't necessarily give you the citizenship. So mere existence here, or even born here, or even say that I am 4th or 5th generation, if you don't subscribe to that identity, if your identity coordinates are outside the territory, outside the geography, even after 5 or 6 generations, then
from the 16th century, people have been living here. Some have been.
Don't belong here.
Some of them who came, there was the actual inward people who came, the Mughals or the Muslims, they were in a minority. The mass of people who do not contribute or do not have any emotional links with the Indian identity, those people, their DNA is Indian.
But DNA is another factor. And this is insisted upon, that we all have a shared DNA.
But what about this? My wife gets very annoyed. Every time now I'm using the cab, a gentleman called Mr. Uber. And every time, a very easy test. Whenever I disembark from the car and tell the gentleman, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. 95% of the time, there is reciprocity. If not the Jai Bharat part, Jai Hind part, there is reciprocity. 5% is a resolute refusal to say. And I am not shy of this. My wife gets very annoyed with me. I always tell them, भाई जय हिंद के उत्तर में क्या बोलते हैं? And the battle lines are drawn.
I'm so happy you've shared an experience which is so personal. And you mentioned about a gentleman who taught you at Cambridge, and he was born here, and he did express his fondness for here. But ask him what identity does he bear, he would be very frank about his own identity. So identity is independent of where you are born, independent of where you grow up. It is about who you think you are.
Absolutely.
Not what DNA you carry, not what passport you carry, not even what nationality you carry. Unfortunately, sometimes. Because we live in the day and age where identity has become a big issue. And it has become, it is going to become increasingly an issue around which the lines of conflict will be drawn. And that brings me to the second issue. Where do you think this identity faces challenges?
Where?
From where? What challenges this identity today and in the foreseeable future? Where do you think? Is there a challenge to start with, to us, as an identity?
Let's be very clear, Sushil. We can go around saying that capitalism is one identity, Marxism is another identity. But at the end of the day, there is the basic threat to India is a refusal on the part of people who share our DNA, who share our blood, who share even the language. I'm talking about, for example, not northern India, but in Bengal, West Bengal, there are people who speak perfect Bangla, but do not share the identity of Bharat. Why? Because 150 years ago, I know I've heard from my father, I haven't, couldn't, this thing wasn't old enough to meet my grandfather, heard from my father, my uncles. We came from a place called North Bengal, which has gone to East Pakistan, now Bangladesh. There are people there who have either stayed on after the liberation of Bangladesh. Some are genuinely have this adherence to a pan-Bangla culture. But most of them, even some educated Bangladeshis, don't have that. And then what do? Here you are, you look the same as me, you speak Bangla fluently, effortlessly, but you are, your gaze, your eyesight is on some town in the Middle East. Even now, Bangladeshis. So what is the solution to that? We have to think. We cannot hide. One chapter is devoted to that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it makes riveted meaning, reading. And I'm not going to reveal too much from it, because that should give you a reason to go through it. And he has a very incisive take on it. It is important because, as I had mentioned earlier, and I'll never be able to overemphasize it, this is growing reason today for conflicts that we see around us erupting. Also because we are communicating a lot, we are interacting a lot, we are competing a lot, and we are growing in large numbers in the same space. So there's going to be competition and conflict. But one way of managing it is education, on which you've spent considerable time writing here. And not just the conflict, even nation building itself takes education as a key component. I must share something that most of you already know. Uh, as a key input in building a citizenry that builds a nation or helps you keep it subjugated, both ways. Education is a two-way tool. Macaulay used it to keep us subjugated, and after liberation, we were supposed to uh, use it for nation building. The importance that Muslim League attached to it in 1936, when they were negotiating a coalition with Congress post the provincial elections, they asked for education as number one priority, and they were granted. Post independence, most of you know what who held the education portfolio in succession, starting with Maulana Azad. Of course, Humayun Kabir from Calcutta was one such gentleman. Nurul Hasan was there. Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad was there. So just a cursory look at the list, and where have we missed the bus? Didn't we see education as an important enough ingredient? Didn't we invest too much? Where did we go wrong?
The names that you have mentioned give the answer. Except, I must say, Humayun Kabir, who had some relieving features because we knew the family.
Was Kolkata elected him?
No, he was married to a Brahmo lady, Shanti Kabir. His daughter was later married to George Fernandez. So he had some redeeming features. But it's very difficult, and he was a friend of my father. He got me admitted to St. Columba's School. So how can I forget that?
But I must give you a contra example. When we were trying to build a memorial to Vivekananda at the Rock near Kanyakumari, he was in the Union Cabinet as culture minister, and he proved to be one of the biggest hurdles.
Biggest?
Hurdles. And you know how that hurdle was circumvented? Because he was elected from Kolkata, Eknath Ranade went to Kolkata, held a press conference that the most illustrious son of Bengal, Vivekananda, cannot get his memorial because of the MP you've elected from here. And then he had to relent.
You see, this is the Achilles heel of the Indian Republic. Large proportion of the population, 12%, 14%, I'm not getting into figures. The census figures are understated in one way, over-reported in another. You do not have a sympathetic audience with at least 16 to 18% of the country's population. Whatever you do, Humayun Kabir is neither here nor there. But the other three were open opponents of
Very hostile.
Open, their hostility was clear. Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed was not even worth talking about. He was an uneducated fellow. You know, in college at that time, we used to call him Fakhrumia. So there were people in the prime, the serpent's head was somebody from your part of the world by the name of Mr. Nehru. So there you are. The Indian Republic started with chains in its feet. And we were asked to run the 200 meters. Not feasible.
You also have written about the language as a medium of education and also as a reason for conflict. And I've read a wonderful piece about you getting fond of Hindi in preference to English very often. You said that could be irrespective of gender-related mistakes you make or grammar-related, inconsistencies, but we should always switch to Sanskrit Nishtha.
Shuddha Hindi.
Shuddha Hindi, Shuddha Bangla. I used to call it Bonkim Chandrer Bangla, Porimarjit Purishtut Bangla. because that is the underpinning and gives you large number of words which are common, and that gives you facility to understand what is being talked about, get the context right, and so on and so forth.
Shuddh Hindi, Sanskritized, made more easy by making it gender neutral. Huh? Make it easy for non-Hindi people, speaking people to learn Hindi. The South will take to it. The Bengali Babu will love it. Because it is Amar Ma, Tomar Ma, Amar Baba, Tomar Baba. Not, you don't have to get into Meri and Mamera and all that. You resolve a long-standing obstacle to the spread of Hindi. Why can't we do it? Now, I'll give you examples. In history, it has been done. This thing. Give me examples.
Hebrew?
No, Hebrew, much, but in the 18th, 19th century, the English did it, the French did it, the Russians did it after the revolution.
Made it gender neutral?
No. Made it simpler for absorption. We can do it. Then a large percentage of the friction that Hindi today generates will have disappeared. Make it gender neutral and allow the original Sanskrit vocabulary. Take out the Urdu vocabulary, and things will become much easier.
Yes, and somewhere you write about the Wagha Brigade secularists insisting on the Urdu Shurdu Hindi, Hindustani Hindi. You say even Chutney Mary Angrezi types, they all would be relegated to the sidelines if you evolve this kind of lingua franca. I come to a bigger issue because education was mired a lot by competitive vote bank politics, about creating issues which yield you democratic mandates. Tamil probably is one of the reasons the chauvinism paid rich dividends in elections. And therefore, now talking of politics and a larger issue on politics, especially in the context of what we are seeing for the last almost a month now. Israel was founded on 14th of May 1948 in the conditions we all know. And on that day, the founder and the first Prime Minister of Israel, David Ben-Gurion, very clearly said, emphasized that our first and foremost priority should be to protect and preserve Israel. After 2,000 years of wandering in wilderness and getting persecuted across the world,
Persecuted,
massacred, subjected to Holocaust, genocide. And second, he gives the reason. He said, nobody should be able to hurt us again. Spoke just these two sentences, which are now written in stone, singed into every Israeli's mind. These are the beacon sentences they bear in their head, and that's why they're doing what they're doing. Why I'm saying this is because we, the Hindus, who had just emerged from a partition drenched in blood and gore and lived through over 1,000 years of ruthless and relentless genocide that took away more than 250 million Hindu lives. At that point in time, we gave ourselves a constitution that discriminated against the Hindus itself. So at just 1 year apart, in fact, we were making this constitution when Israel won its space, its land.
reclaimed it.
Reclaimed its land. We gave ourselves a constitution. We finished making it on 26th of November 1949, gave it to ourselves on 26th of January 1950. Shouldn't this have been our resolve also, that as a civilization, as a culture, as a people, as an identity, who have seen the ravages of centuries, who have seen Sakas and Johars, who have seen famines, exterminations, slave trade, plunder, desecration of more than 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers in the radius of this very city, sir. You don't find a temple which is 100 years old, a building intact that could be called a Hindu building. Whereas this place is the very cradle of Indian civilization. I mean, Indraprastha, Hastinapur were here during the Mahabharata period. This is what we have been through. I can show you a mosque which is 800 years old. I can show you a cathedral which is more than 200 years old, but you can't show me a temple which is even 100 years old. Shouldn't we had given ourselves this resolve that no more of this genocide, this continuing genocide to Hindus? What kind of a politics did we give ourselves? What kind of a vision did we give ourselves? And what were the reasons? You've written extensively about it, about the transfer of power, about the club that passed on the baton to their chosen anointed successors, what you call the GNG cabal, and the party and all that. I want to hear from you.
GNG stands for Gandhi, Nehru, Gandhi. So, no, Sushil, I knew talking to you would also encourage me to be bold enough to come out with my thoughts. The disaster in 47 was Mr. Gandhi and Mr. Nehru. There's no doubts about it. I was brought up with my father telling me that this gentleman is not to be referred to as Mahatma. I didn't know what it was. This was a discussion between him and my mother. So my mother was a very soft, very kind Brahmo Samaj lady, very proper. Said, no, why can't? So my father said, no, you should not, he should be addressed as Dr. Ambedkar. All his writings are available now. His BBC interview is available. Dr. Ambedkar, whom a lot of people proclaim as this thing of the anti-Indic movement, actually he was not. If anybody wants to correct me, and this is supposed to be also an interactive session, if anybody wants to correct me, Dr. Ambedkar was not anti-Indic. He was one of the few people who could read through Mr. M.K. Gandhi. M.K. Gandhi couldn't pull the wool over Dr. Ambedkar. There is a BBC interview, thing I'm sure which many people may have heard. He tells the English interviewer that Mahatma, I will never address him as Mahatma. It's all available very easily on YouTube. So the India, 47 to 50 India, then the Republic of India, we were born under the wrong stars. We have still not got over it. Why are we still a part of the Commonwealth? Tell me. Mr. Modi, why is he sending the Vice President to the funeral of the British Queen? He takes the most expensive aircraft and goes to London. That huge aircraft. What is the purpose of the Commonwealth? There's an entire portion of how to get rid of these colonial relics. So I think we have to ask ourselves very fundamental questions. It's in our mind. Slavery takes a long time to cleanse it from your mental system.
Decolonizing the mind.
Decolonizing
the mind. He's not just stopped at revisiting the time and the people who played a role during 1947. He's been very brave in writing not just one but two chapters, giving the agenda to the present Prime Minister. Okay, his cabinet ministers, colleagues dare not give him agendas, but this takes special effort. And, and he's very candid, very clear about it, and very detailed. It's not just the laundry listing of issues. He's explained them, given reasons, and that's what makes very, very interesting, convincing reading. And one of the first ones is giving our armed forces their dues, protecting and nurturing Vedic civilization and culture. His second one is restore the status of armed forces in the nation's administrative framework, given the soldiers their financial dues. You know, if you look at other democracies like America, people wear their service record on their sleeve when they contest elections. And that is where they are also judged, their mettle is tested. We have hardly any uniformed men in our active politics unless they have been picked up literally and placed somewhere, not on their own merit, but because of the favor by a politician in the office. Recognize with pride our ancient heritage and preserve our national patrimony. Restore the sense of balance in India's historiography, Gandhi-Nehru clan, and not usher in Gandhi-Nehru clan did not usher in our freedom on their own. So this one, the fourth that you counted as an agenda, means correcting the textbooks. How satisfied you are if you're following the education policy and the progress of textbooks. Chapter number 2, he continues saying good governance and its constituent components like controlling and managing babus, darogas. He talks about make the bureaucracy technocratic. He talks about rein in judiciary. He also talks about stamp out corruption and streamline the justice delivery system. How do you assess, almost at the fag end of his second term, how much has he delivered? Well, what kind of a report card would you give him?
Talking about the armed forces, the OROP has still not been sanctioned fully to the extent that was recommended by the Koshyari Committee. The arithmetic of the OROP has still not been satisfactorily resolved. Ask any armed forces personnel, retired serving, what we have given them is a partial. It's an improvement. We should not be hypocritical. Judiciary, zero progress. We have lost out. We have the second judge's case. We have the entire process of appointment of judges is in the hands of the existing judiciary. So that battle has been lost so far until we come up with something. What else? Good governance, the bureaucracy, reform of the bureaucracy has been marginal. The same set of rules, the recruitment, the promotion, everything is still the same. And regrettably, it is not just 2014 and 2019. The heritage goes back to 36 or 35 Act, the British 1935 Act. So we have not done. There are improvements. You see, if we are too cynical, then there have been improvements, but there have been glaring failures. If you have a self-perpetuating judiciary, you will never get judicial reform.
I'd like you to spend some more time on judiciary. There are some very startling figures. 5 crore cases pending. 5 crore. I mean, let that figure sink in. Of these, 1.5 crore are pending at the level of high courts and Supreme Courts, and 3.5 crore at the lower courts. Even cases like traffic challans drag on sometimes for months, if not years. There are tens of, lakhs of people as under trials who've served more time than their crime would have had been proven, would have been far surpassed many times over. So this in a democracy is unsustainable.
Totally.
I've been a victim myself because God forbid, if anyone has to go through the system of criminal justice system, go around courts, hiring lawyers, waiting upon turns for the justice to be delivered, is incredibly painful. How do you see it happen? Because we seem to be in a stalemate. It doesn't seem to be the priority at all. We have, law ministers have lost their jobs, but judges are still the same.
The collegiate system is one of the greatest scandals that you could ever have in a democracy. No other country in the world has a collegiate system. That you and I, we are the judges. We nominate, maybe we just throw a stone at somewhere and we nominate 5 people. And we also say that those are the judges to the Supreme Court, or with the transfer from Madhya Pradesh High Court to Calcutta High Court. Everything is being done by the collegium. What on earth is, we are the only country, civilized country in the world where the judges choose their own. The Americans don't choose, the Supreme Court doesn't choose its own, the British don't choose, the French don't choose. We do it. And the arrogance of the Supreme Court has become exponential. I don't want to use mathematics, it's growing in, like this. At every stage, they are intervening in the working of the administration, now in the working of Parliament. So where do we end up?
International affairs is something he's written extensively on, but let's open it to the audience, I think, instead of keep you waiting. Mr. Rawal.
Just the other day, the Supreme Court has told the Speaker of Maharashtra to decide about the matter by 31st December. Then there is this case of Raghav Chadha under suspension. Now this is for the legislative to decide. Why are they interfering in the legislatures? Does the legislature tell them to decide a case within 3 months or 6 months? Now only yesterday, I think, about Sisodia's case, they said that within 3 months, the CBI should finish the investigation. The Criminal Procedure Code does not lay down any time limit. Absolutely. A murder case can be detected after 40 years. The investigation can be continued. Leave aside interference in the executive, but this interference coming in the legislative wing, I think this will finish everything.
Absolutely. I would add to what you've just mentioned. I have known of cases where judges have heard all the sides of the argument, seen the evidence, reserved their judgment, not delivered it for months and retired without delivering the judgment for the case to be heard all over again. With impunity, with no consequences to them. I mean, you'd be surprised, probably not, to know that judges pay no income tax. Judges' accounts cannot be scrutinized. So you can't ask a judge, how did these 2 crores land in your account? You cannot. There's complete immunity.
We'll get an adverse. We will be treated adversely that you are lowering down the norms. Every place there is a norm for executive engineer, how much he's supposed to do, doctors, how many patients they can see, although that's not followed. But for their norms, they follow it very strictly. Coming to the High Court. when posted at Mathura as a bachelor those days. We have this music festival, Hardas Jayanti, one day in Mathura, another day in Vrindavan. So a lot of judges used to come from Delhi, from Allahabad High Court, and I was attached to a Supreme Court judge as a liaison magistrate with him. So I spent one night with him at Mathura, another evening at Vrindavan, and I heart-to-heart talk with them. And they said, we are next to God.
He did.
You know, a lot of High Court judges say that next to God is the High Court judge or a Supreme Court judge. I'll tell you another thing about Pithoragarh is a place now in Uttarakhand, earlier in UP, which is a very small place. A High Court judge from Allahabad, in his summer, he was going there. So there is a forest inspection house, there is a PW inspection house there. The forest inspection house is a better one. So he was given that booking. Then Mr. Madan Lal Khurana was the tourism minister here in Government of India. He also planned to go there. So his booking was transferred from the forest inspection house to the PW inspection house. Mr. Khurana was given the forest inspection house. So when they travel, there is always a district judge accompanying them. So when he reached Pithoragarh, he was told that he's going to stay in the PW inspection house. He was so upset with this. On return to Allahabad, he summoned the district magistrate, who was a Bastar tribal officer, made him stand in his court the whole day, and told him to come after another month. In disgust, that officer left the service. He had only 4 years of service at that time. I was a resident commissioner for UP here, and every summer we used to get requests from the Supreme Court judges, lordship accompanied by ladyship.
Ladyship. No, this is another invention to the English language.
Daughter and son-in-law with their children would like to go to Badrinath, Kedarnath, all the places. Please drop an itinerary. That was the word used. Please drop an itinerary and send it for the lordship. The registrar's letter used to come to us. I used to send it out to Lucknow. The protocol is they provided a car from the UP border at Ghaziabad, but they wanted 2 cars to come to their home. So 2 cars, one was officially, one was unofficially given, a taxi. They would travel all over. And now last one High Court judge in Allahabad got transferred to Delhi as after the 2 months after swearing in Allahabad, he was transferred to Delhi High Court. I had known him since he was a district judge. So I went to his house, he invited me to his place. So showed me his house all around and all that, everything. And then I asked him, called him by his first name, ये क्या मजाक है? 2 महीने आप इलाहाबाद में रहे, उसके बाद आपको यहाँ ट्रांसफर कर दिया, सीधा यहाँ क्यों नहीं आया? रावल साहब हमारा नुकसान करा देंगे. I said, what? हमारा disturbance allowance. You know, when we government servants get transferred, no, we get a disturbance allowance at 2,000, 5,000, I don't know what it is now. It used to be 1,000 rupees. They get a disturbance allowance every month as long as they are outside their own. My question was, if you are perpetually disturbed, how do you work? No, I know a lot about judges.
I'd encourage you to write a book and let's have a conversation on that here later.
Sorry to interrupt, but Joy, you have to tell them about your experience.
Okay. Yes, please.
He will. I've asked him.
In 2005, my good lady wife had gone out of Delhi. So I went to my in-laws at that time. We used to stay in civil lines. I went to my sister-in-law's house, had dinner. I was coming home by Ring Road. It was winter, November. The Ring Road, just before the Rajghat crossing, if those days there have been changes, there was a Skoda car which flashed by at a higher speed, stopped at the red light, and there was this venerable gentleman, there was a red light on the beacon. I've written in that, Lal Batti. So there was this venerable gentleman sitting in the rear on the left. I was driving, so I was on the right. So I wound down my window, I knocked at him, and I said, "Excuse me?" So he said, "Yes." I said, "Are you entitled to have this?" So by that time they turned green. I turned into Ambedkar Stadium and started taking the Mathura Road. He followed me, that car, other car, with the beacon, made me stop. I stopped. He got out of the car, his driver got out of the car. So he said, "Do you know who I am?" I said, "I don't know who you are." So he was more agitated after that. So I drove off. He started following me. After some time, I managed to. So since I was hungry, I went to the club to have a meal. And after about 10:30 at the club dinner, I am a teetotaler, I don't drink, so I had my dinner. I went home, and there was a sixth sense. Before I reached our house, I parked the car, walked to the house. There were two police gypsies with the red light flashing outside my house, our house. So I walked up to him and said, "Inspector साहब, ये आप लोग क्या कर रहे हैं?" बोले, "अरे साहब, एक आदमी है, वो जज साहब को ये करा, तो हम उसको उठाने के लिए आए हैं." ऐसे उठाने के लिए आए हैं? So I said, "अच्छा, good night, namaskar." I tried to put as far a distance between my house. I remembered a friend of mine whose father had been a judge of the Bombay High Court. He stays in Safdarjung Enclave. So from my place, I drove to him and I knocked at his door. It was about 11 o'clock, and I said, "Anil, bhai yaar, I want to sleep in your place." He said, "Aaja, aaja." So I explained to him. So this chap, Anil, is a very dear friend, Anil Bal. I don't mind mentioning his name. He said, "Joy, tu bahut gadbad karta hai, you always get into trouble." I said, "What trouble?" I merely asked him. So he heard me. He said, "You stay the night. Tomorrow is Saturday. If they pick you up on Saturday, Monday, तो तू यहाँ बैठ जा." So I had dinner. His wife was very nice. The children were very nice. Then there were two sitting Supreme Court judges whom I knew. One was very dear to me, had been our neighbor. I rang up his family. I said, "यार, so sir, मैं अभी जयपुर में हूँ. जयपुर राजस्थान हाई कोर्ट का फंक्शन है. मैं उसको बोल दूँगा. You don't worry." He spoke to him, and would you believe it? And I'm sure you would believe me. That judge, he sent his personal staff to apologize to me. Otherwise, I would have been in the lockup. And guess the lawyers would have made a little bit of a fortune from me. And the driver, he was very interesting. He did not file the FIR himself. He made his driver file it. So this is the judiciary, higher judiciary. What can you do with
So
this?
we have a retired additional district judge sitting here, my mother. Maybe she can
Yes.
make a comment to do. She knows judiciary firsthand.
नमस्कार सबको। ये क्रिटिसिज्म सुना मैंने, मेरे व्यूज़ थोड़े अलग है। जब जुडिशरी का कोई पर्सन ऐसा काम करता है तब सबको आग लगने लग जाती है। वही काम है एग्जीक्यूटिव मजिस्ट्रेट, डीएम कोई करेगा, कोई नहीं बोलेगा, सबको डर लगता है पुलिस आ जाएगी। तो ये डिस्क्रिमिनेशन जो है ये सही नहीं है। ठीक है, वो भी करते हैं ऐसा, हाई कोर्ट जजेस भी ऐसा, मैं नहीं मानती, करते हैं, लेकिन एग्जीक्यूटिव साइड में भी हमने ऐसा ही देखा है। और हमारे कोर्ट में जब एडवोकेट्स अपीयर होते तो वो उस कोर्ट को कहते थे, एग्जीक्यूटिव साइड वाले, झंडे वाला कोर्ट, उस झंडे से ऊपर कोई नहीं है, सब आप तो वेट कर लोगे, झंडे वाला कोर्ट नहीं करेगा। तो ऐसा नहीं है कि खाली जुडिशरी में ऐसा है, जिसके पास पावर है वो सभी ऐसा करेंगे। वो सोचेंगे कि हमारा पावर है, हम उसको एक्सरसाइज करें, सुपीरियर समझे अपने आप को। इसलिए किसी एक में खामी नहीं है, पूरा सेटअप ही बिगड़ा हुआ है। अगर ये पावर वाली बात खत्म हो जाए तो कहीं भी कोई झगड़ा नहीं रहेगा।
आपने बिल्कुल ठीक कहा। हमारे यहाँ जो बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है वो एक फ्यूडल माइंडसेट की है, वो सामंती मानसिकता की, जो किसी पावर की पोजीशन में है, उसके पास कोई अधिकार है, तो वो जो औपनिवेशिक समय की एक मानसिकता थी कि वो प्रजा है, वो मैं राजा हूँ, मेरे पास सत्ता है और उसको पालन करना है। तो वी आर नॉट हियर टू सर्व। देखिए, जो एक ट्रांजिशन होता है उस सामंती सत्ता से लोकतांत्रिक सत्ता में, हम सेवा के लिए आते हैं। कहते तो हैं हम सेवा के लिए, ये प्रशासनिक सेवा है, वो न्यायिक सेवा है, हाँ, सार्वजनिक सेवा है। वो सेवा वाली बात तो नहीं।
हमारी सेवा करनी है।
सेवा वर्ड तो है
जी,
किसकी करनी है ये क्लियर नहीं है।
राजा एंड राजा अभी भी वो हमारे
वो नहीं गया है। तो पुलिस, आपने बिल्कुल ठीक कहा, पुलिस में भी ऐसा है। ये तो पुलिस को भेजते हैं, अगर पुलिस के साथ आपका सीधा वास्ता पड़ जाए,
उसका तो बहुत ही हाल खराब है सर।
है ना।
आपने गाड़ी चलाई और अगर किसी पुलिस वाले ने आपको रोकना चाहा और आप सही हैं और नहीं रुकेंगे तो वो एक सेक्शन लगाएगा, गाड़ी की स्पीड तेज थी। अब उसको आप डिस्प्रूव कर ही नहीं सकते, आपके पास क्या जा रहा है, तो ठीक है वो अपना पावर यूज कर लेगा।
और तो और जो किसी सरकारी महकमे में अधिकार के स्तर पर नहीं है, मैं वहां पर बात करता हूं, संपादक लोग अखबार के, टीवी, ये जो बड़ा बड़ा लगा के चलते हैं गाड़ी पे, प्रेस, तो ये एक वो जो जिसको कहते हैं ना कि दायरा वर्चस्व का, अपने अधिकार का, सत्ता का, वो, हाँ, ये जो मानसिकता है वो एक बहुत बड़ी दिक्कत है। प्लीज।
थैंक यू, such an honor. I mean, thank you to the organizers के दो स्टार वॉर्स को सुनने को मिल रहा है। I mean, live, I'm a big fan of yours. Brings us to the question, जहाँ सर ने छोड़ा था, मैम ने जहाँ बोला, the Indic identity, which दादा, with due respect, I mean, I mean, we kind of here and there, all kind of things mixed into हमारी आइडेंटिटी कोई क्लैरिटी मुझे सुनने में उसमें, आई एम सॉरी, समझ नहीं आया, फील भी वैसे नहीं करते हैं। The Jews went through the Holocaust and what not, and हम लोग इतने साल की गुलामी करके आए। You rightly said कि slavery it takes time to shed off, right? But the Jews never took that much time to get off that and got onto the business, as सुशील जी ने जैसे बताया। And ये जो instances पुलिस और मतलब अंग्रेज वापस जाओ क्योंकि हमको अपने देश को बर्बाद करना है, हमको छोड़ के जाओ, हम फटाफट से 60 साल में बर्बाद कर देंगे। I want to ask, so हमारी आइडेंटिटी exactly what kind of people we have? Luminaries spread across such a huge population, but also most of us, how are we that we have tolerated, as you written in my book, 60 years of Congress Raj agar tolerate kar gaye, what does that talk about us? That's one thing. So our identity, clearly, are we as compared to the best in the world? Most of us very ordinary. Quite honestly, I would want to hear that. I mean, if we are not like that, or are we like that? The other thing is, हम लोग पहले बात करते चाय पीने के टाइम कि 60 साल में झेल गए आराम से पूरे दुख दुविधा सब कुछ, और ऑब्वियसली ना मुस्कुरा के नहीं, और अभी 10 साल में इतना उतावलापन, यू राइटली सेड कि सैनिकल ज्यादा नहीं हो, पर कि ये भी होना चाहिए था, वो भी होना चाहिए था। नॉट फॉरगेटिंग, वी शुड नॉट फॉरगेट द फैक्ट कि मतलब किस हाल में 2014 में देश क्या मिला था। इज द मैन डूइंग गुड इनफ? द मैन यू रिटन अबाउट ऑल्सो, इज ही डूइंग गुड इनफ व्हाट ही कुड हैव डन? बट मोस्टली और लार्जली माय क्वेश्चन इज, हम अपने आप को पैट ज्यादा करते हैं, आर वी वर्थ दैट मच? बिकॉज द सिग्नल्स दैट आर दैट पुलिस वाले भी करके जाते हैं, जुडिशरी भी करके जाती है, एंड द गेट अवे एंड द पीपल टू सर्व देयर पीपल, टू ओब्लाइज पीपल टू, so what does that talk about our identity? This is my larger question, if that's a valid question. That's this thing. And also, I mean, do we take it, do we tolerate too much of
No, your question, I know, I can. Are we expecting too much? Is that what you're saying? When your impatience is what?
That's the second part of the question about the present government. The first is, as a people who would have gotten freedom after 12 years and then get the system to rot so soon. What does it talk about us as a सब कुछ है मन, बहुत ज्ञान यहाँ वहाँ सारी बात 5000 साल पुरानी सिविलाइजेशन, 5000 पुरानी सिविलाइजेशन को तो और अग्रसर जाना चाहिए था, उसका पतन कैसे हो गया इतनी जल्दी हो गई आजादी?
No, I couldn't really
So
understand.
I mean, how did you go down the hill? Regressive क्यों हो गए?
Why have we gone down so far?
Further.
What,
Yes.
How does it reflect on our identity?
What kind of people are these?
See, educated people, sir, they have been
so fast instead of waiting for this independence.
No, our DNA, nothing wrong with our DNA, Rajesh.
what has happened actually? I don't know. I want to get educated from the August gathering here. Why there were cheats in every regime? Whether they were getting with the Mughals or with the British even, why the term bootlickers came? So out of the same educated class, and when we were coming to that, they should have been better education. They were not good education ministers imparting, letting more education in the proper way for all classes of society. But in those days also, if we talk of that, which is always a unanswered question in my mind when I read something about history, why these things have been happening in our race? Are we comparable to any other race like this in the world?
Why is this happening to us?
Is it a part of our DNA?
Why us?
Our DNA is.
No, then is it a part of our DNA?
No, if we say, no, all three of you, if you say that it is our DNA which is at fault, the,
Is it? We're asking you.
no, I can't give. If we say, no, let us just for the sake of argument, let us agree to think of the possibility that our DNA is faulty. If that is the case, if we come to that, even the hypothesis that this is because our DNA is faulty, then the game is over, khalas.
But sir, then we talk about the pride in the heritage.
Yes.
That has been helping us somewhere.
Yes, it is. But if we come to the other side of the coin and we say that खून ही खराब है,
दादा एक बार एक्सेप्ट करके फिर ठीक करना शुरू करेंगे ना, पहले एक्सेप्ट ही नहीं कर रहे।
अच्छा, a good point. Would you agree to my friend Rajesh and my other friend that can we conceive of the situation that it is our DNA which is faulty? If we don't, according to Rajesh and according to you, sir, no. If we concede that question mark, why is it happening to us only? Why is it not happening to others? Beggar? And repeatedly. So it's a very good question. I would like to hear that other question, yes?
So I have few observations and also on this. We choose a party in Delhi where he goes and addresses the community and appeases them, and we choose in a good faith. But now I will contradict here. The party in center supports a Waqf board, which is supposed to be our riding the horse of change, transformation. Now, you come to Make in India. I'm very passionate about Make in India. 2014, when Prime Minister launched, I have written a lot. Make in India started with a good notion. When I go down and see in the actual field, the people who are supposed to implement it, they find ways of how not to do it in the right manner. So we achieve 10% of what Prime Minister is aiming. Sorry. Yes. Now I come to, and today I was supposed to go and attend a Heavenly Culture World Peace Resolution of Light. I got curious. I said, what are these guys? These guys, morning in the Deer Park, did a big rally, lot of photographs. And when I find it's a cult feature which is trying to build with the Christianity. They have a UN organization and their India head is Mother Teresa Foundation, one of the functionaries. Now imagine we are trying to look at an Indic civilization with about 20 people sitting there. Morning there were 200 people with video coverage and so many. And evening there will be even more. which will be acting against your thought process. So what we are talking is past. What is the strategy? What is the thought process? How do you address? We are very bureaucratic. Where is our vision to change that? What are the corrective measures? Thank you, sir.
No, I think this is one very meaty issue for all of us to sink our teeth into. I have a small take on it. If we look at ourselves very dispassionately, very, very objectively, not in a romanticized way of looking at ourselves, but cold and clinical, some of the facts must be borne in mind. We've been through a very, very exacting time, to put it mildly. If you say that 250 million people lost their lives, it looks like just a figure. But when you look at not years, century after century in the last, say, 12 or 13 centuries, and you see there were times, there were decades when minarets of skulls were created, pyramids of skulls were created. I went to Chittorgarh. In thousands, women immolated themselves through mass immolation. You have to see what kind of a trauma we as a people have been through. That trauma has singed our processes of thinking, responding, analyzing. We are, if we say we look self-centered, we look disconnected, disinterested, we have very little empathy with, let's say, the fellow person. Try and understand. In Kashmir, I'll give you an example which is much closer home. When people left out of fear for their life and they landed in a refugee camp in Jammu, and if they came across a relative or a friend or a neighbor, they didn't have the face to look them in the eye, each other, both, because they left without even informing them or checking as to whether you're still there, should we leave together. And these are blood relations, people who grew up together. Because at the time of fear, you are only for yourself. And this response to somehow save yourself at the cost of anything, where all moral standards just melt away. So why are we corrupt and why are we ruthless with the weak? Where is our moral compass? How do we tolerate? What is our tolerance threshold? We ask these questions in the comfort of everything being, predictable. But societies who've been through a genocidal process like this, and there isn't any other society, let me tell you, what we've suffered as a people, as an identity, and what we continue to suffer. Imagine the fear among the billion people last year was such that they were apologizing on social media for standing up with Nupur Sharma. They were sending written apologies. Sorry, I didn't mean to do it. My son did it accidentally. I withdraw this. When they saw 6 or 7 or 8 cases where people were slaughtered. When this government rules, not an eyelid, no finger was raised, nobody questioned, there was no response. Had it been any other country, there would have been an avalanche. What are you doing to us? So look at it, analyze it, and we need to be a little more sympathetic about it, and we need to heal. We need to invoke that sense of confidence and pride in yourself. It comes with a sense of esteem, sense of pride. When we suffer from low self-esteem, we give ourselves a lot of margin to not do things that ought to be done, or do things that ought not to be done. It happens.
Let me, Sushil, just remind you that a sitting Supreme Court judge, Pardiwala, his comments about Nupur Sharma, I think if I had been younger, I would have taken a gun and shot Pardiwala.
Yes.
I don't mind being quoted. The shamelessness of that chap, and he continues.
Yes.
He attributed words to Nupur Sharma which she had not spoken. It is that other fellow who said all these things was prompting her. She did not rise to the bait. Words were put into her mouth by a sitting Supreme Court judge. Initially, she was denied bail.
No. The point, he had to hear a plea for a bail. That's all. He had no business to talk. He had no business expressing his opinion कि तुमने देश भर में आग लगा दी है. He had prejudged her and bared his prejudice. But being a Supreme Court judge, he could get away with it. And this is the same Supreme Court where we went knocking thrice. Not once, thrice.
Second time they granted it.
No, 3 Chief Justices of Supreme Court, just I'll never forget to mention their names because they ought to be named for sake of record. Justice J.S. Kehar sat with another judge. I'll give the name later. Then Justice Deepak Mishra sat with the same judge who sat with Justice J.S. Kehar to toss our application out for seeking justice for the genocide victims of Kashmir. We said there are thousands of FIRs pending. Why don't you look into these FIRs? Why don't you ask the government, the prosecution machinery to pursue these cases? That included the case of a squadron leader of Indian Air Force, squadron leader Ravi Khanna and his 4 associates who were shot in cold blood. It amounted to 24 FIRs against Yasin Malik. He is living. Bitta Karate, who said, I stopped counting people I was murdering after 20. I may have murdered 25, 35, I don't know. I stopped counting. He said, these cases are pending. What are you doing about it? He said, 27 years too late. Why, where were you? He said, why did you need us? There are FIRs, there are accused, there are victims, there are courts. What are we supposed to do? No, it's too late. And a week later, they admitted a petition which said, let's reopen Mahatma Gandhi case because there were 4 bullets fired, not 2. Who fired the other 2? So the same Supreme Court. And finally, the second judge who shared the bench with J.S. Kehar and Deepak Mishra became the Chief Justice, who is the Chief Justice now, heard our curative petition and the result was just the same. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud. This is the status of our Supreme Court. And when they spout all kinds of
Homilies.
yes, platitudes. I had Justice Deepak Mishra speak in a large conference about compassion and justice. I was supposed to speak after him. I thought, wow, this is my chance to tell the world what is his levels of compassion about justice. But he left as soon as he finished his speech. I said, what is the point now? But this is the This is the highest court of justice where they know that this is the last door we could knock at for justice. There's no more doors left. And this is what they do. So we have, and this is the elite, the social elite, the leadership that drives this country. So
I feel we are suffering from an acute virus, I call it. It's a nexus of the politicians, the bureaucracy, in everything in today's date. And they are making the justice run. I wish we still had people like T.N. Sheshan, who was working always without any feeling of fear, no fear at all. See, only day before I read an editorial that there's a news that the donations to political parties cannot be probed under the Right to Information Act 2005. See how gradually this government even has been making the act toothless. Day by day, if you observe, they would not appoint people at the helm of the affairs so that dependency increases. Well, this all talk and everything, we are having a good brain work. I will be failing in my duty if I do not thank Shri Jay Bhattacharya ji, who has given us an...
Absolutely. Let's give him a round of applause, sir.
Yes. I will request a standing ovation.
Yes.
Friends.
And sir, it has been a real privilege and pleasure. When you were saying no, I was going to ask, but maybe some other time I'll discuss. You said that you started writing column, you were getting pleasure of mind. I said when you wrote the column, or when people read it, or when you got the appreciations, at which stage you got the best pleasure of mind.
All three.
Wonderful, wonderful.
We missed the humor part in his book. I think that is the most valuable. Would you like to share a few words or read some passage? Mamata.
Mamata, okay. Sorry. Mamata ka, I'm not a Mamata fan, as you will agree, but I think she is destroying a patrimony which the whole of India should be proud of. What Bengal has done. In fact, I tell my wife all the time that the greatest tribute which the Sikh faith has received is from Gurudev Tagore. Panchanadi Tire. His poem on the martyrdom of Banda Bahadur ji. उसको आप हिंदी में इसका अनुवाद हुआ है. We should all read it. The people of Punjab don't know it. My in-laws don't know it. 90% of them don't know it. But I think Mamata is spoiling that thing. It is a great tragedy. I feel ashamed. If tomorrow somebody says, "Joy, tu to Bengali hai," well, I'm like, "Kya karu yaar? It's my fault." Mamata ke...
Sadly, just like Hamas, the Palestinians chose Hamas, Bengalis have chosen TMC. So that's a hard fact to...
Okay. This one, since so she likes it. This is about, and this is the other woman who has come from Bengal. Oh my! I mean,
one better. Yes.
Very quickly, I'll not read the whole thing. The Honorable Mukhyamantri of Paschim Banga, aka also known as West Bengal, hereafter WB, was in an almighty huff. Begum Mamata, I call in all my articles I refer to her as Begum Mamata, was sitting in the Air India aircraft and was in an almighty huff. Why? Because the pilot and the others had all disembarked from the aircraft after landing at Heathrow Airport, and they had all gone off without doing their salams to her. So she was getting very upset, and her finance minister, a gentleman called Amal Mitra, actually it was Mitra, yes, so the Fiqhi, an American trained economist, and one of her major PR assets had done a Houdini act and disappeared from the aircraft. And the only excuse he could offer was he had gone off to see Cliff Richard. As a result, Mamata was partly reassured. Then the other advisor she had is, I have referred to him as Derek O'Brien. No, I have not called him O'Brien, but he's there. He had also disembarked from the aircraft, leaving her there, and gone off. So Mamata was now in a terrible temper. She had been assured before landing in Heathrow that she would be given a welcome by the British Air Force regiment with the band. When this was not done, she decided not to disembark. But at which point the airport authority in Heathrow said, look, if you don't disembark, you can stay in the aircraft. So she finally decided to disembark. Then I go on to see her encounter with the British immigration officer. You are forgetting who am I? How dare you speak to me like this? I will complain to Her Majesty the Queen of England when I meet her. So the British immigration officer says, Madam, if you cannot understand a few simple questions, I will ask you to wait till my senior comes. The senior came and he looked at Begum Mamata's passport. The passport was of the Holy Republic of Bongoland. So he said, Madam, this is not a legally valid passport. So she digs out her Indian passport, which had the British visa, and she was finally allowed to land in the UK. Then, when she went to the Hyde Park Hotel, the room was very nice, but there was no prayer mat. So this made Begum Mamata very upset. So she called this fellow as her advisor. The advisor is referred to in this book as Derek O'Brien. That he fancied Latin and French phrases. So both of them decided to go to the Finsbury Mosque in London. There they met that very well-known priest who's been named here. She decided to speak to the priest in Bonglish. And this priest, though he was a Muslim priest, was very anglicized. He couldn't understand anything. So she came back, but she was very happy. But she said, the only thing he said to the priest was very anglicized, that your Urdu is very bad. Bengalis don't speak good Urdu. So Mamata said, the moment I return to Calcutta, I will sack my Urdu teacher. Got on the phone. Anjem Chaudhary is the right name, the proper name is. So then she went to Madame Tussauds because she had been told by David O'Brien that her wax statue was under preparation and she would pose for it. So when she went there, she found that the management says, well, we have never heard of you, who are you? So she got very angry. So that part, she comes back, and then the next day she goes to the CBI, which is not our CBI, it is a Confederation of British Industry. And great reception, thousands of people. They're all Bengalis from Finsbury Park who had been hired to give her a standing ovation. But since the lights were not on them but on her, she couldn't find that, she couldn't recognize that they were actually Bangladeshis. So she was very happy. She came back, she cracked jokes that back home, I've got the better of the Indian CBI, and here the British CBI is welcoming me. So this goes on, and then she goes to Buckingham Palace. This is where the bubble burst, because the cavalcade, Begum Mamta's cavalcade, was asked to use the rear entrance. So when she went to the rear entrance, she said, forget about Her Majesty, forget about Prince Charles, some distant relative was sent to meet her. She was partly reassured, but still very angry. But then the sky fell on her head, because it turned out that the British court had issued a warrant of arrest against her for war crimes in Bengal, for
Post-election
violence. So she and Mitter, Amal Mitter and O'Brien tried to contact Delhi. The Delhi, at the South Block, the phones went on ringing. But there was an minor Arab prince who had his aircraft, which is stationed in London. That aircraft was placed in Begum Mamta's disposal, and that is how she managed to come back to India. So I think if you read it, you'll find it a little more.
Thank you so much.
But Begum Mamta is going on. So this doesn't affect her.
But so from here, I forgot PG Woodhouse.
So Joyda, you've given a lot of joy to all of us, but one disappointment to me. Out of your 76 articles in this book, there's not one on Kashmir.
Not one on Kashmir. The editors at that time, not Prashant, but the earlier editor, and not Ankur either, felt that the Kashmir, it's a very valid question. Kashmir is as dear to me as it's dear to you, as Paschim Bangla is dear to you as to me. But this previous editor felt that if my articles on Kashmir were really very strong, and there was a problem, Ankur, before you came into the picture, there was a problem that we should not take chances with the first book. Already I was a late author. I'm not a childhood prodigy like some of the other authors. So I said, if there is a problem.
There's one on Rani Jhansi Regiment of Azad Hind Fauj. There is one on, his love for Hindi. But one issue that has dominated India's political landscape, India's foremost challenges, I thought I should have a privilege of knowing your views on it. So that calls for, as you said, another book where you deal with it, compensating for the absence in this.
If Ankur wants to, is agreeable to publishing it, I will, which will include Kashmir, but not, it will be a take. This book is not a commentary on current events so much as a historical. So if on current events, if my publisher, Ankur, but Prashant, you'll have to edit it. I don't care whether you're somewhere else.
And I apologize for not covering, say, international business, international politics. There is a plethora of lovely writing, wonderful views, incisive insights. But, in the limited time, we could handle only so much and no more. But excellent, sir.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful.